Namaste, Neeraj. We are
Namaste.
happy and it's great to have you here again today. And this is going to be a special topic to know more about languages. We have a lot of options, opportunities, websites, lot of facilities out there, but then I don't think I have seen a dedicated conversation or an interview where we learn and get to know about why multilingual services are important and it adds to the personality of anyone who is interested to enhance their speaking skills or upgrade their language capabilities. So welcoming you, and a quick note for our viewers: Neeraj is well versed in multilingual services, and he has a platform which provides coaching on 160 plus languages that covers different languages from all over the world. So, welcome, Neeraj.
Thanks for having me. So basically, I need you to understand that when you say multi-language stuff, why do you need many languages? And this is coming from India, which is very beautiful because we are already a country of so many languages, and not only the languages, but their accent and dialects also. Now, I would like to differentiate between, say, language and dialect, just to make sure people understand how do you do this. So accent is more to do with the sound or pronunciation, where dialect is something to do with the entire part of it. Maybe you could have also uh, phrases change. Their word could change. I gave you, in fact, we had a discussion on the Indian language, per se, say Hindi. Now, Hindi spoken in Mumbai is a different Hindi spoken in Hyderabad or say Lucknow or Delhi. So that's a dialectical variations. Now, the question that why do we need multi-language culture? One that you can get it from India itself, that it's very easy for you to be in touch with other guys. You could break what you call so-called linguistic barrier because if I'm going to talk to you in say Marathi, maybe a little bit, maybe not as fluent as you are, but then that would create instant bonding. At least I'll try and make an effort to talk to you in Marathi. It will give you immense pleasure. It's not about what I would call it parochial politics, but it's something to do with that you are genuinely interested in that culture, that language. Even if you say a word, you will be very happy. So it's very important for us to, one, for a career reason, of course, you need to know the languages. Secondly, I think if I tell you my background, I've done my BSc from Delhi long back, and I haven't got anything out of it. I've done nothing out of that BSc thing. I have done a small course in French that changed my life forever. So, and then French was very similar to Spanish. Then I picked up Spanish. I was teaching in college. Then I thought, why not to start a platform where we can uh, do different languages, translation, voiceover, dubbing, training, you name it. Now we have a platform which deals with 160 languages. I don't speak 160 languages. There are people who are working with us in terms of translations and other stuff, and that's what they do. So for me, I think it's very important for all of us to understand that language is a bridge. It's a bridge between two people, and I won't say just two people, but two different kind of community understanding, cultural variations, sensitivity. So in fact, the word is shrinking because if you look at today, the people are connecting from everywhere and anywhere. And if you know a language, or at least you have a genuine interest to know that language of that particular person, I think you get instant repo. And of course,
Right.
then the sky's limit.
And this came to mind a little background or history about how languages came into existence. If telepathy and mind communication is possible, then what created the need for vocal expression?
It's a very good question, and this is very philosophical question. But
Hmm.
then, to my mind, like if you look at today, the language are changing. It's not just the vocal language. There are machine learning, the languages are coming. Then we have computer languages, which are also known as languages. Okay. Now, the definition of that's what I was trying to tell you, that I don't want to dig into too much technicality, but the definition, very definition of language is also changing. Like, for
Mm,
example, computer has a very different language to feed. Maybe tomorrow we'll have robots, they might understand a different language. Maybe we do not need so much vocalization in terms of languages. Like, for example, we call it body language also, which is a part of a language. So
mm,
where there is no word. In fact, as a storyteller, I keep on telling people, say a story without telling a word. So your posture, your gestures, your body language. So language is not just the vocal, because we think that language is just the vocal one. Vocal is a one tool or technique to express, but there are a lot many things. I have my pet kids and they communicate
mm.
with me all the time and much more effectively. So in fact, if you see, as technological advancement is going to happen, we might find a different shape and size of language. It might not be just the vocal. So vocal would have been very easy or more convenient to understand, because subtleties in any format is very difficult to catch. It needs a lot of energy. Like you and I belong to spiritual background, so I would say, if you read a book like Bhagwan Bhairav, you find that there are very few lines. Only you have to dig the line between the lines. Even in India, the sutras are written in a very concise manner. So one sutra can be explained into a one book.
Wow.
So even in
Possible,
in
yes.
in in the deepest possible relationship, we don't speak so many words. For example, I say, get this. Now you will understand, if we are living together, you will understand, okay, say, get this means what? I'm not explaining me, give it to me this. You might say, oh, get that. By tonality, with the intonation, with the accent, you might find out what I'm talking about, because we're living in a close proximity. That's what happened. The dialogic discussion between Shiva and Parvati is very concise, because they are closely related to each other. So what she's saying, what he's getting, that's the reason that it has a flip side also, according to my thinking, is that you can interpret in a different way. But there is a subtleties in the language. So it's just the vocal is the minuscule part of the entire thing.
Okay, nice one. Going with our first question, uh, this what you have shared so far as a part of this introduction, and now going to the first question. What is the scope of voice artists in today's world in different industries? What are the
So
different
first
industries
we have
which
to
can create this opportunity?
yeah. So first we have to understand what is a voice acting or voice over. In fact, I was writing a blog prior to your discussion. So there are many things. So voice, as have been telling you, voice is the vehicle. It's a platform by which it conveys ideas. Okay, right? And how effectively you can say is going to make a huge difference. So voice industry is a huge industry. In fact, it encompasses everything. Let me explain you also voiceover and dubbing difference. So voiceover, you might have seen, there's a voiceover coming between a scene. There's
Hmm.
nobody's talking. But suppose there is a film is shot in Tamil, and now you want to dub it. Then you're gonna dub it and say Arabic or English. That's called dubbing artist.
Okay.
So you have to do also lip sync. You have to make sure that your dialogue is such a way that even the people, maybe tomorrow the machine would take over and do entire thing. But today, voiceover industry is a huge industry, because there are a lot of audiobooks are coming. One of the very easy field for anyone and everyone to start a podcast or to start a voiceover for say books, audiobooks. There, because see, why do you need? Like for example, I was training somebody long back. He's a big short guy. He said, "I like to read, but I don't have time." I said, "No problem. You start buying audiobooks." Now, slowly, if you see the people are not reading, they're listening more. That's why we say on these platforms, we don't say we watch or we read. We say we consume the content.
Hmm. Right.
So what is the meaning of consume? Consume means you are using a different senses to um to approach the
Absorb.
same material. Yeah, to approach the same material. For example, if there's a book is written, okay, now book can be changed into audiobook, and the same book can be made as a film also or web series also.
Hmm.
So what is happening? In the first, you are just reading it through your mind. In the second one, you're using other
Senses.
sense. You're not using this sense, but you're using the other sense, audio sense. Maybe if it is made into films, you might watch it and
Visual.
listen it and do everything together. So the production like that. So there are a lot of things. There are many applications. Maxi, how? How? So basically, there are different materials are to be used in order to get this kind of thing. So it's
Hmm.
not necessary that you have to work towards one aspect of it, but there are many other aspects which you can use it. So idea is that when you talk about voice industry, it has like advertisement is another necessary. Of course, I talked about e-learning, training platform, game, virtual.
Right.
So basically, voiceover is very easy and it's very easy to consume. That you need to not only just it becomes more palatable. Do you understand the meaning of palatable? It becomes very palatable, easy for people to give them. Like, for example, today's generation, they might not like to read. They don't have time or patience to read the whole book. But you give them the audio, they're not doing something else, they can listen the audio.
Hmm.
In fact, the books I'm writing, I'm trying to parallelly get into the audio format of that book also, just
So
to
I
make
think
sure
somewhere
it
we are
can.
doing this multitasking, right? Stimulating all our senses. Something which wasn't really
Yeah,
activated.
there could be. Yeah, there could be. But the most important thing is that sometimes why do you do this? Because the the approach, see, like for example, I was giving the same example. I was training somebody, and this guy said I couldn't get time to read it. I said, fine, if you drive for 3 hours, you cannot read and drive, right? It's very difficult for you to read and drive. It's a you can get into accident. But you
Hmm.
can play audio.
Right.
Then when he while driving, so in fact he has heard last time when I met him here, he has heard more than 100 books. We would have not done it by reading it.
Hmm.
And he's a big shot guy. He's one of the CMD of Tata's one of companies.
Hmm.
Very good friend of mine, Yogesh Mitra. So the idea is that I'm trying to make you understand that it's not that what is right and what is wrong, what works. Like when I have a great time in all relationship because I never thought that I am right and you are right. I always felt that what is going to work. If this is going to work, then it's fine with me. And if it doesn't work for me, then it doesn't work for you as well. So it is that it's not about that what is there, but it's more important that how can you get the benefit of technology. Yeah. So that's the
If
answer.
used well, yes, it's a gift. If technology is used well, it's a gift.
No, but that depends, right? That's an individual person. So, for example, you get a knife, you can use it to stab somebody, and the knives can be used for cutting the vegetable and making it a very wonderful tool. But that's individual prerogative.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there are the uses. So when you talk about voiceover industry, voices are very important. It makes you to consume content. I'm using a contemporary word just to make sure you get it. So consume content easily. It becomes more palatable. So it can reach out to the larger audience.
Hmm.
If I tell people to read Ramayana, they may not, but they can watch Ramayana every week.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying it's a good and bad. In fact, it has a dismerit. I don't want to get into it. That, for example, when you read something, you fire your imagination. Here, the imagination is ready-made. It's given it to you. You don't have to imagine anything. That's why it becomes consumed.
Correct.
It's a consumption. Because, for example, if you're going to read Gita, you're going to fire your imagination. You will process according to your experiences, your understanding, and all this stuff. And that's your experience is going to be unique. But here, the experience are being given it to you.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there are advantages, there are disadvantages. But since we are talking about why voiceover is important, I'm telling you this thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And like voice, audio, yes, I have observed that benefit for myself. Like I think even I could consume more just by listening. So
Correct.
although I love
Correct.
reading books and the physical aspects of things, but still, yes, Audio and voice has made me grasp more in less time. Yeah.
And thank you so much for reminding me. In fact, I keep on saying that, for example, I don't teach language as a language. Okay, I keep on saying in all my seminars, I teach language as a skill. Now, there is a difference. So, for example, language when I teach is that where you need to learn a language with a grammar and all this stuff. A skill is something like driving a car. You may not be mechanics of the car, but you can drive a car because you know the skill. So, for
Right.
example, how did you pick up your first language? You did not pick up a language by reading and writing and grammar and all. You picked up only by listening and repeating it. Any language, right? But when we switch to second language, we try to learn the grammar and writing and reading. It creates more problem than the solution. How did you pick up your Marathi? You picked up by reading the grammar and the writing and reading? No. Did you get me where I'm coming from?
How does that create more problem than solution? I
I'll
didn't
tell
get
you. I'll
that.
tell you. So it's a very beautiful question. Please try to understand. And I gave half of my career to research on this point. So basically, what happens that if you look at your first language, why the second language has been always difficult for people to grasp. In fact, the same intelligence are there. In fact, you become more intelligent after grown up. But why it is always difficult to get a second language, a third language, a fourth language? I'll tell you the reason. So if you picked up your first language, you're not doing nothing. You're just listening and repeating it. That's all you've done. Your
Hmm.
grammar writing of Marathi came much later. Your grammar, writing, reading, any language, French, Spanish, whoever has picked up the first language, why you call it mother tongue, not because of any reason, but only because of the over repetition. In fact, there is a guy who started a system also where he's teaching a second language without even telling you to write a single word. And that actually made me to realize that another method can also work. You don't have to, like, for example, if you enroll yourself in French, what's going to happen? They're going to teach you grammar, they're going to teach you this, and they're going to teach you that. And then eventually you might land up learning something, right?
Hmm.
That's the way they picked up.
Yes.
But I'll tell you why it creates a problem. It creates a problem only because that the multitasking in certain brain doesn't work. So brain works according to understanding of listening. See, language is what? Language is basically a listening platform. See, the
Hmm.
conventional method is good for the people who are learning, say, maths or physics.
Hmm. Hmm.
But language is a tongue stuff. It's the listening and repeating. That is all required for a language. That's all is required.
Hmm.
So
All right.
if you dig it, you'll find it that if you're gonna say read it, you're gonna write it. So your brain would not be able to process language as a language. It's very good for science. It's very good for maths. This method is. I'm not saying this method is bad, but this method is bad for a language speaking. That's why you might have seen. There is a joke in JNU. People used to say that they learn ABCD IS. I'll tell you my story also. I was teaching in college here in Kandivali, Mumbai, and they used to learn French for 2 years. In like FYJC and SYJC, there is an optional subject called French. All Mumbai, I don't know about Maharashtra, but Mumbai, most of the colleges they offer French as an optional subject. And you won't believe they learned for 2 years, they could not speak even a single sentence. And they learn only like a Sanskrit, they learn it for scoring it. They can write it, they mug it up, but they're never able to speak it. So I'm
But
talking about the only
if they
spoken
just
part of it.
listen, they are able to keep that
I
in the
think
memory.
yes. Yeah, you might have seen the people there listening to the song, they understand better than the people who are not listening to the song, English songs. So I'm talking about the speaking part of it. I'm not talking about the other part of it. I'm not talking about the writing part
Hmm.
of the language. Okay.
Hmm.
Spoken is more or less has nothing to do with your writing and reading.
Hmm.
You can do experiment. You'll find yourself
Got it.
experimenting.
Yeah. Very, very interesting observation. So,
Yeah, because that's what I've been doing it for many, many years. So I know this.
right. Mastery in voice and audio.
Yeah, the idea is that,
So,
see,
mhm.
the purpose, you have to define the purpose of anything. Once you define the purpose, it's easy for you to, like, I mean, I'm writing a book on like framing a question. So I say that if you know how to frame a question, You'll get the answer. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe after 10 days, maybe after 10 years, but you will get the answer. The problem is that we never able to frame it correctly. The same way we never able to frame what we want from a language. Like, for example, translation is a very difficult job. I'm not trained as a translator, but I'm trained as an interpreter. There's a difference between translator and interpreter. Now, people use as a synonymous. So, translation is basically written. So, if you
Okay.
write something, suppose something is written in Marathi, okay, and you translate in English, it becomes a translation form. So, this book is translated from Marathi to English. But if you speak in Marathi, and if I have a capability of translating from Marathi to English, verbally, vocal only, not written. That's called interpretation. Is it clear?
Okay. Yes.
So I do a lot of SI. SI is called simultaneous interpretation. So where the speaker is talking in one language and I'm sitting in audio booth and then interpreting in the different language. So we are the
Hmm.
leader into that part called interpretations.
Are they
So
not
especially if
called
you have seen,
voice? Like even that is translation, right? The
no,
designation.
no, no.
The
That's why people do not understand, and lot many expert
It
also
is
make this
supposed to be
mistake.
interpreters, right?
Yeah, these are interpreters. These are not translators.
Hmm.
Translators are, I've written a lot of articles on it. So translators are written. So person who's writing is a translator. Person who is interpreting, like speaking is, I'll give you the audios also. You can understand the audio, how it works.
Could you share that here, like with share option?
Yeah, I'll share on WhatsApp. No, here I don't know how to share.
But in
So I'll
WhatsApp,
share
if you
you.
share, I don't know if people will be able to hear it. So,
You can incorporate while editing. I don't know how you're gonna do that
yeah, so
because
I've given this multiple participant sharing option. You can take a look at how you can share it through Zoom.
I don't know. Where is it?
The share screen, going to share
No,
screen option
I,
on your Zoom page.
Anyway,
Bottom.
I'll discuss it. Let's see. I may
Okay.
not be able to do this right now. So yeah.
Okay, no
So
issues.
basically, I'm trying to explain it to you. So interpretation and translators, like translator, interpreter, or translation and interpretation, there are different words. So basically, translation is more of writing. It's
Hmm.
nothing to do with the vocal part of it. Where interpretation, like for example, we've seen the Honorable Prime Minister is saying something, there's other guys there. It's called whisperer interpreters, where the person is
Right.
just saying in slowly. Then there is called consecutive. There's a huge lot of things about that. So I don't want to get into too much details, but this is
But
what
this
the
was
basic
so
difference.
in like it was so valuable to know this. Otherwise, if anybody is interested, like whoever would watch is going to watch this, it's going to be so very clear for them whether they are interested in something like voice over artist or interpretation or translation. So
Like for example, I
it's
even discussed about
very
the
valuable
transcription.
information. Yeah.
Yeah. For example, I told you also what called transcription. Now transcription is a different thing. So transcription is where the audio file is converted into a written format. It's called
Hmm.
transcription. So there are people who are transcriber. It's a huge field. So language is
Yeah.
virtually it's all pervasive. It's
A
everywhere and
lot of
anywhere.
yeah, a lot of such careers are still unexplored, I would say. We just know doctor
Yeah,
and
yeah.
engineering. In at least yeah, in the common world. Yeah. So going forward
Like I
with
was
our
living in so many places and I found most of the people are not aware of it. Even they're very educated. Yeah.
absolutely true. So going forward with our second question, what why is it important for anyone to know more than five languages and willing to learn new languages as they grow? Not less than
So
five.
yeah. So again, this is what now you understood. So you've got better idea what I'm gonna go for this answer. Now knowing language is a very difficult way to understand it. Okay. So knowing in what aspect of a language. I told you, for example, I cannot be a translator, but I'm effective interpreter. Okay, because my strength lies with my voice, so I work towards the voice. So when you say knowing, it's a very oversimplifying it. Now you know what aspect of language. You may know how to write a language. There are people who can write very well, but they cannot speak a language properly. There are people who could speak properly, they may not be able to write it properly. So there are a lot of things. So I'm not saying you should know all the languages, like five languages or six languages or 10 languages or 20 languages, but I think to become a little bit what I would call it working knowledge of languages is very important. If you can, like for example, if you're living in a city like Mumbai and if you know Marathi in terms of like communicating with the people, it's very good. You may not know how to write, and that's not required, but if you know how to communicate in basic communication or working of a language, then I think it's going to play a big role. Same way if you go to France, I don't do it, but earlier I used to do short-term courses for French and Spanish called survival courses. Survival means if you go to that country, you can survive. Like I'll tell you a very simple case.
And that's the
Still I
most
live with.
necessary thing, isn't it? Like,
I'll tell you what
case.
happened.
Yeah.
So there's a real incident that happened 10, 20 years back, 10, I think 15 years back, I'm not sure. So I live at Andheri, which is very close to Juhu. Juhu is a very, very posh locality where a lot of big stars are living. So one fine day, somebody has called me at 9 o'clock. So it seems there are a couple went to France and they went to a deep, deep France. Okay. And somebody's got heart attack. Okay. And this guy was in panic because there are the doctors and they're very good doctor in France, but then he couldn't communicate in their language and he was in very deep panic. And doctor he trusted is his family doctor who's living in Jew. So they called me up and they said, okay, he wants to talk to his doctor. Though the entire services and medical support which was provided to that old man was very good, but he doesn't have confidence because the language barrier was there.
Hmm.
So I acted as an interpreter to solve this problem. I was there with them. I didn't charge also because they told me to take any money. They gave me a huge gift afterward, but then I didn't charge because I thought it's not very good idea to charge. And when I made them to talk to his doctor, then he became very confident. So at least I think we all have to have working knowledge of a language, at least to survive, called surviving skill. Yeah. Because
Wow.
knowing if I say it takes lot many years to understand it. So I would not like to say that you could know a language in a short span of time unless you're not genius. For example, I'm working on so many languages, but I think it's just the beginning of what I'm learning it. And they're a friend of mine, they spend almost 25 years of in a language, still they are not that confident. They have to study and do those interpretation jobs. And because there are two skills involved in the language, people are not aware of it. One is the language, of course. Second is the subject matter expertise called SME. So, for example, if you all need to talk on genetic engineering, you may not be able to talk even in Marathi. It's your mother tongue. So there has to be also subject matter required to learn it.
Hmm. Right. In-depth learning. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I
Beautiful.
don't want to. Normally believe in truth and only truth. So for me, it's very important for people to realize that knowing language is a very paradoxical thing. But yes, you can learn a language, you could create an interest of it, and slowly, slowly, you could grow in that language. That is the right process to do it, and it's an
And
ongoing process.
right.
It's
And
like a
as we
fitness.
speak, I'm already feeling that, there's so much of possibilities in this area itself, just language and voices. Uh,
Yeah, because it's like I was
Huge.
talking to another friend few days back, and she's doing a lot of work on animal rights. And I told them very beautiful thing, and she liked it also. I said, like for example, somebody's activist, they're very bitter. If you see any activist, the who's saving the plants or animals or even the human, they're very very bitter. I think you shouldn't be bitter. You should keep on enjoying the process
Mm.
because you're emanating the thing. If you're saying, "Oh, I live with a dog and I'm unhappy," so people think, "Okay, then what's the point of having a dog?" Or dog is a baby. So idea is that you keep on working on a language on a consistent manner. Like for example, I keep on giving this example in the gym. If you get a six packs, you stop your exercises? No, right? Your process remains same. Whether you have a six packs or you have ideal weight or you're fit, still you have to keep on working. So
Hmm.
language is something which you have to keep on working, according to my understanding. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, practice and repetition, yes, big time necessity. Yep.
Yes,
So we'll be continuing this conversation in next lot
sure.
and closing here.